Round one could not have gone any better for the 2021 Canadian Superbike champion Alex Dumas, winning both races at Shannonville Motorsport Park. The same can't be said for the defending champion, however. Riding with the #1 plate for the first time in his career, Ben Young finished a respectable second in the first race, but had his seat break in race 2, struggling to a 6th place finish. Young is behind the 8 ball, heading into round 2 at Grand Bend Motorplex. Race 3 is next. Marshall Ferguson alongside Colin Fraser as we get set for race number 3 in the Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship. And in qualifying, it was Ben Young running away from the rest of the field by over half a second, but he's got some local challengers that are going to spice things up here.
Well, last year we tire tested with Bridgestone here. Ben Young set the pace. We went to Jennings, tire test with Bridgestone. Ben Young did very, very well. At Shannonville, he didn't win, but he was fast and he won qualifying. And we're back here. Dumas is on a win streak, but Ben Young at the moment seems to be the fastest guy in the series. The surprise was the Honda of Chris Pletch. Not a complete surprise he would do well, that he's competitive. He's one of the top guys in the regional series, but that he would get in amongst the very cream of the crop in the national in front of Dumas, the points leader, that's a surprise.
It was a great result in qualifying. Plenty to talk about. Let's hear from our BS Battery Pole Position Award winner, Ben Young.
Ben Young, another pole position, almost a new lap record here. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, it was good. We felt super comfortable on the BMW M1000RR. It's our first time with this bike at this track. Last year we ran the S, so that proved its challenges. But yeah, obviously they think such a great machine that it worked really well for us today. So it all lines up very well for the race tomorrow.
Here we get a look around the Grand Bend Motorplex, Colin, and what are we looking at?
We're looking at an airfield circuit, not that common in North America, of course, a huge thing back in the UK. And this was a bomber training facility during World War II, and they basically paved over a bunch of the access roads and turned it into a racetrack. And yes, the back straight still is a place to land airplanes.
Here is your GP Bikes Pro Superbike feature class starting grid, of course, led by Ben Young.
Yeah, Young didn't do a lot of laps. This is the second time in a row we've seen this where he seems to have a pretty easy pace to get the most out of the new Bridgestone tires.
Trevor Dion sitting there in his number 20 Kawasaki. Tommy Kazas as well.
And talking about Dion, worth mentioning, last time on a BMW, he was on pole here last year, didn't compete in another Superbike race, so this is his first full campaign.
Should be an intriguing matchup. For more, let's go down into the pits. Eric Tritko has more on Alex Dumas.
Thanks, guys. There is drama for Alex Dumas starting from 3rd position. After practice yesterday, they found a broken valve spring in their main bike and have had to go to their backup machine. That machine is down on horsepower compared to their main bike. That may not be an issue here at this very tight 2.2 kilometer track. Speaking of being down on horsepower, 2nd position, Chris Pletch. His Honda is only dynoed at 170 horsepower, which is way down on the 210 that's allowed for the class. So we'll watch to see if he can hang with the leaders. Back up to you guys.
Thank you, Eric. And there you see rider 110 in the middle. It is Chris Pletch. It's the Apex Cycle starting lights. They're out, and away we go. And Pletch struggling off the top. Ben Young fires as down inside goes Alex Dumas.
Absolute shock there. The top 2 guns over the last 3 seasons immediately established their dominance, and this is what we saw at this track last year, but in the other order.
Down the back straight for the first time here, getting on the throttle as quickly as possible and jumping in, and here we get a great shot all the way down the backstretch on board with Alex Dumas.
Solid power from the BMW and gets underneath on the brakes without any drama. I don't know if you caught that, but Jordan Zook was in a very good 3rd, so wonderful, well, almost wonderful start from Zook.
Yeah, no doubt. Samuel Guerin jumps ahead into 3rd position, now trying to track down the back of that Liquid Moly Purple Skull Brewing Suzuki that Alex Dumas is riding, but out in front, it is the defending champion Ben Young leading lap 1. Let's go to our Bridgestone pit reporter, Eric Tritko.
Tough break for Trevor Daly. He got caught with a jump start. That's going to be a 5-second penalty. He's running well on track, moved up in position a lot. We'll see how that's going to affect his overall results.
Daly in 7th, and he's the first rider at the front of the second group. So Pletch, who had that poor start, is 6th, last in that train that's racing for first.
Start to see a little bit of separation here at the front as Ben Young trying to get away from Alex Dumas as they head towards the backstretch once again.
And this is one of the better efforts for Guerin in the dry. We've seen occasional glimpses of brilliance, but situation is complicated with Guerin, and of course in the rain he's fantastic. He crashed in the rain at the opener, so it's nice to see him getting somewhere in the dry, and somewhere is right on top of our 2021 champion Dumas, so that's a really good effort by Guerin, the early going on his BMW.
Ben Young crosses the finish line here, different than the start line at Grand Bend Motorplex. Colin, why is that?
Well, basically it's efficiency, get out of the paddock into a more convenient spot, and we think it's a little bit better in terms of security because the first lap, the first few corners are the most risky part of the race, and this way it opens up the track. You don't go straight into a chicane, you go into a faster section.
25th year in the Canadian Superbike Championship is Jordan Zoke trying to hold it down in 4th place right now and stick with this front 3.
And the good news is Pletch has worked his way to 5th. He got by Kazis on the Yamaha, but he has slowed that group up a bit. So now there's a small gap between Zoke and 4th and Pletch, who really needs to get rolling or he's going to get scrubbed off this lead group.
He's certainly struggling a little bit on the back straight as you see Tommy Kazas trying to track him down in 6th position right now with Trevor Daly hiding in behind and Trevor Dion down in 8th.
Often when we see Young and Dumas get clear, they get completely clear. This time, that's not the case. The pack is hanging in, and that's encouraging if you're Young, that maybe there's going to be some disputes back there because he needs the points.
Samuel Grand hanging tough. More from Grand Bend Motorplex when we return. The Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship is brought to you by GP Bikes, Economy Lube and Tire, BS Battery, and Importations Tebow. Closed captioning for the Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship is brought to you by Goderich Toyota, Joe Rocket, MotorcycleCourse.com, and Revs for Reps. Back at Grand Bend Motorplex, working lap 5 of 22 as Ben Young continues to lead from Alex Dumas and Samuel Guerin trying to track down the back of that Liqui Moly Purple School Suzuki.
And some interest and question about Guerin's tire choice. Most of the front runners have gone with the softer option, but there's a super soft too. Guerin has opted for the super soft on the rear with the Bridgestone, and that to me says he needs to go sooner rather than later, and he now seems to be adding a little pressure. Of course, Dumas is not on top of Young the way we would typically expect.
Young starting to separate himself a little bit from the field, but Guerin and Dumas went at it with each other back in Shannonville, round number 1. Experience riding against each other, highly competitive, and you know that Guerin will force the issue at some point.
The greater Quebec City region, not typically a hotbed of motorcycle road racing, but second and third are Quebec City riders, and they are associates, friends of one another. And it's interesting to see that Guerin is really piling the pressure on, and Dumas much less smooth than typical, so he's riding hard.
You could really see Dumas get on the throttle early there, heading down into the back straight as Guerin tries to tuck himself in behind. He won't take a look here. Got close to the rear tire. As Dumas continues to deal with Guerin, we had a chance to sit down with rider number 2 and talk about his experiences in round 1 Shannonville.
I went all in for the first race. I was with Alex on the rain, and I was feeling confident until boom, you just don't have anything under your legs and you're just in the air and flying, and okay, so race is over. So it was a bummer. My goal has always been to win, and to win some races and to do some podiums. So the championship is kind of something that I don't really think of. I just want to have fun, be competitive, and step on the podium.
I was okay until I wasn't. The life and times of a CSBK rider, Colin.
And we call that strategy the Kevin Schwantz approach, the former MotoGP world champion who would win it or bin it approach for most of his time in the top ranks of motor racing.
Guerin again trying to hold on to the back of Alex Dumas. Ben Young sailing out in front right now, in control of race number 3 of the Bridgestone CSBK season.
And Guerin's really getting a chance to study Dumas, and Here you see in the tighter section, time, speed, distance, the gap appears to close, but really in terms of time, it's about the same. And making that move, making a decisive enough move to pick up the 3 or 4 bike lengths is pretty tricky in this part of the track where you really are line astern unless the guy in front makes a small mistake. And that's why Guerin has to stay on top of him to exploit that potential mix-up.
Such a great technical section here at Grand Bend Motorplex as you see them twist their way into the back half of the lap, carrying a lot of speed into this final corner before they hit the back straight.
Yeah, and right about here, you're just thinking about being as tidy as possible to get on the throttle early, and you watch sometimes those big black lines appear. You can see them all laid down from today, and even though these bikes have a lot of electronic management, ultimately you have to make that Bridgestone tire put as much of that 200 horsepower down as humanly possible.
Working lap 8 of 22, Jordan Zoke sitting in the background there in 4th position. He's carved out a little bit of an island for himself at this point, as he continues to watch on Guerin and Dumas in front of him.
And I need to point out, Marshall, that no man is an island, but yeah, that's a little bit of a break for Zoke, who desperately needs a finish. He showed some real determination at Shannonville, but he also fell twice, had a really difficult struggle, and he's coming back from missing an entire season, due to injury.
Oh, and that is Chris Pletch, the local rider. And what happened here, Colin, is he rides into the grass in turn 2.
Well, definitely something's wrong at the front because he's playing with either the throttle or the brake, and he's not continuing. He's looking for neutral. That's what he's doing there. So the bike isn't running anymore, but that was quite abrupt. Now let's go on board. We're looking backwards from Pletch's Stratford Cycle Honda. That's Daly coming up the inside. Pletch is a little bit wide as we head into the S's, and well, perhaps there was a bump there or something between him and Daly, but definitely, yeah, you can see him heading off the track. He knew he couldn't continue, and we saw the video when he stopped, the bike was not working anymore.
Never made the corner. There's the 1-speed Suzuki of Trevor Daly, went flying up the inside. Ben Young, defending champion, continues to lead in race 3 in Grand Bend. Welcome back to Grand Bend Motorplex, working lap 12 of 22 as Ben Young continues to lead in front of Alex Dumas and Sam Guerin. Trevor Dion in his LDS Consultants Kawasaki set the lap record here at Grand Bend last year. He pulled into the pits. Let's go down to Eric Tritko, our Bridgestone pit reporter, with more.
Tough break for Trevor Dion mid-race here. They've obviously run into some kind of mechanical issue. He's come in, taken off his helmet, and he's debriefing with his crew. We'll try to get a word with him afterwards to see what happened and if that's going to cause many issues for the rest of the weekend. Back up to you guys.
Yeah, difficult spot there for Trevor Dion. Unfortunate to see him trying to build pace back into the bike as he came out of round 1 in Shannonville with that hand injury, but unable to get it going here in Grand Bend.
High expectations for Dion, and I think he's absolutely capable. Just a rough start. He showed so well at our Jennings Bridgestone test. I think we're going to see a lot more of him as the year progresses, and I think the season is absolutely salvageable. But you have to mention that his team leader, there he is, Jordan Zoke, is having a really good race after such a difficult time at Shannonville, and Jordan needs this too because he missed an entire season. He was fastest at our preseason test, but things just went totally upside down at Shannonville.
Very difficult conditions in race 1, round 1 in Shannonville. As you can see, Trevor Daly really starting to close down the gap here in this battle for 4th position.
Daly in the picture, remember he was quite far back. I think he was 7th or 8th with that incident with Pletch occurred. So he's been marching forward steadily and picked off a couple of pretty fast riders.
And you know, based on that incident with Pletch, that once he gets to the back of Jordan Zoke, he is going to take every chance he possibly can. As we get a look at the top 10, Ben Young leading out in front of Alex Dumas, Sam Guerin, Jordan Zoke, Trevor Daly, Tommy Kazas is right there, Jordan Royds, John Fraser sitting in 8th position, Philip Leckie in 9th, and Paul McDonald is in 10th as well.
McDonald, the second Yamaha in the top 10, and he's new on the tour, had a decent result at Shannonville. He's coming from the west, and we've seen several fast Westerners. Typically they have terrible luck when they head east, but on all the different classes we're seeing guys from the BC and Alberta and even Manitoba showing well.
As Jordan Zoke continues to work his way through, love this roundabout section. You can really see the different lines that these riders decide to take, Colin.
This is the section with the most lean. We saw Ben Young's data showing, I think, 56 or 57 degrees of lean, which anything over 45 is pretty impressive. And let's talk about Daly. Look at how much he's caught up, and really we've only been watching Jordan for a lap, and Daly has come right into the picture, and that's great for Daly for two reasons. One, he's close enough to be motivated. Two, he's actually seeing what Jordan's up to, and I think Jordan's getting a little bit tired. Remember, those legs are recently repaired.
And we saw this a little bit earlier on as well. Alex Dumas riding out in front of Sam Garin. Now we see it with Trevor Daly in behind Jordan Zoke. The studying of the rider in front of you. Their lines as we see Garin still all over the back of Dumas.
And when we saw Garant, the pickup of that shot, he was very wide, and that's a sequence where you can't get behind in your steering. And look at Sam, slamming Sam right back up, right on top of Dumas, and we're really looking for a move here because we're past halfway. The race could become official if there was an incident, so hopefully Garant can put a little pressure on Dumas, and I don't think anyone anticipated these two battling, although in the rain at Shannonville, they had a pretty good dispute.
Garin continues to fight his way up through the field in his EFC Group BMW. Trying to track down that Suzuki with the BMW of Ben Young still riding clear out in front, in control of this race.
BMW's first, third, and seventh with Royds, and that is another strong outing for the German manufacturer who's dominated the series for well over a decade. As we see, our top five will be right back for more on TSN.
The Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship is brought to you by GP Bikes, Economy Lube and Tire, BS Battery, and Importations Tebow. Welcome back to Grand Bend Motorplex as you see Alex Dumas being chased down by Sam Garin, as he has been throughout race number 3 here in the Bridgestone CSBK season. But while you were away, Trevor Daly ended up getting past Jordan Zoke in a battle that's been going on throughout this race. Daly finding a very small window to be able to pass Zoke.
This sequence we're heading through right now, that is where Daly made his move, and as you pointed out, not typical. Meanwhile, in this battle for second, there you can see Garant kind of overriding the entry to the chicane, and he has been hot coming in. And okay, there we see Daly just ahead of Zoke. So Zoke has picked up the pace now to try and go after Daly in fourth. Really, really good to see that Zoke still has a little form late in the race because, of course, he is coming off those injuries.
Daly and Zoke trying to make their way through some of the back markers as well, as that is Paul McDonald.
McDonald on the Yamaha, first time here at Grand Bend, and he does look like he's being a little careful late in the race and probably thinking about banking some points as Daly tries to make it underneath, and there he goes. And Zoke, a little optimistic, but follows Daly on his way through. So I think Zoke hasn't given up on getting back into fourth.
Yeah, he refused that time to be stuck behind McDonald as he wants to chase down Daly as they head down the back straight.
And there you can see Daly really past the edge of the track, and he loves to ride there. The track isn't in great shape there, so the series is trying to discourage people from doing that, but Trevor likes to be at the very edge of everything.
Riding out in front of Zoke right now is just the couple laps remaining here, the closing stages of race 3, and can Zoke put together a lap that's worthy of an overtake?
And the ideal situation, of course, is to be taking it a little bit easier late in the race because the tires are a little past their best. So this is a challenge for experienced riders. Of course, there's no more experienced rider on a Superbike in the world than Jordan Zoke, who won his first title on a Superbike in his first year on a Superbike, and that was 1998.
A long time ago, long in the tooth, but still plenty of skill remaining here as he gets back on the throttle, trying to track down Daly into the back section, twisting and turning, a little bit different lines leading in, and we'll see where they come out here onto the back straight.
Daly flying the flag for Suzuki. Of course, Dumas is in front of him on another GSXR. Meanwhile, top Kawasaki is definitely team owner Zoke as we jump back to the lead, and there's the Black Bomber solidly in first.
The number 1 plate riding out in first comfortably right now as Ben Young has been in control throughout race number 3. You can see just cruising his way around turn 2.
And it's just amazing lately what Young looks like when he's going fast. And what he looks like is he's not going fast. He is so smooth on the bike, so gentle in his input, not climbing around very much. And of course, typically we've seen a couple of years of he and Dumas riding in such a similar manner. Right now, they are not approaching their motorcycles the same way.
See him setting himself up so early here as he eases it around the corners. But as you say, it looks like he's easing it calm, but still he's putting in some great lap times here to close out race 3.
Well, that's the deceptive thing with Young, and we saw this in Daytona when he was representing Canada in Bridgestone on a Yamaha, just how smooth he is and how much he can get speed out of a motorcycle without looking dramatic and crazy the way so many of the people nearby at the same pace have to go.
Long winding corners. He fights the bike back up over the top, and the white flag comes out. The final lap for Ben Young.
And this is the newest bike. They just got it. They had a few small issues with it at the Shannonville opener. This is the motorcycle they're going to be concentrating on. This is the bike that's earned 2 pole positions. This is the bike with the wings and the different aerodynamics. And Willie Vass, one of the 2 tuners who are busy with this bike, and there's actually a whole team of people who help with it, including Stephen Weir, who comes up from the United States with BMW down there. But they made some changes this morning and felt the bike was going to be even faster, and it looks like they were on the money.
The Van Dolder's home team BMW heads down the back straight for the final time.
He had a glimpse, 2 glimpses. He wanted to see how far back they were, and they're pretty far back. This is a solid lead in our series.
Finding the smoothest line that he possibly can down the back straight.
And you can see he's taking it easy. He had to look around. He's not tucking in the way he normally does. So he's solid. Oh, yeah, he had a really good look. So let's see what he's planning here, given how much he's looked. And he's planning the Valentino Rossi I Love My Motorcycle celebration.
For the first time in 2023, Ben Young, race winner here in Grand Bend, where he dominated in 2022 en route to his championship in the Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship.
And even the marshals are celebrating that victory. Dumas not that far behind at the end, but I think it's worth noting that Young slowed down quite a bit, and he slowed down quite a bit here to wave at the grandstand. And there you can see the kings of our series over the last 3 seasons, and not far behind the king of the series over the last 25 seasons.
Great race up and down the grid, battling between Trevor Daly, Jordan Zoke, but it is Ben Young leading out in front of Alex Dumas for the victory as Sam Garan comes home in 3rd place.
And got a shout out to Jordan Zoke, who got back in front of Daly, Kaz's top Yamaha. There you see the rest of our field here. Important to mention that Dion didn't finish, and Pletch, who we expected much from, was taken out fairly early.
Ben Young, congratulations. That was a dominating win. You got a great jump and just seemed to pull away from the field a little bit by a little bit more and a little bit more every lap.
Yeah, it was great. We, obviously the bike is phenomenal. Just managed to put my head down, felt comfortable, and then I noticed about 6 to 8 laps in, our reservoir was awfully loose, and then by the halfway flag, the thing just hung down the rest of the race, and we were like pulling to the bar almost every corner. And I was just hoping and praying that the clip wasn't going to come off and we'd have no brakes. So thankfully we were good, and we managed to nurse it home for our first win of the season.
Working your way back into the championship after what happened at Shannonville has got to feel good.
Yeah, for sure. And, we always go well here, and yeah, it's good points for our championship, absolutely.
Congratulations. Good luck for tomorrow.
Thanks, Varric.
Ben Young back on the top of the podium, but still trailing in the championship standings, Colin.
8 races to go, so Young's deficit to Dumas is not insurmountable, but it's going to take some excitement as the season progresses, and he is in a good position, but Dumas in a better position.
Van Dolder's home team BMW back on top, tapping of the #1 plate. He gets the checkered flag and wins in Grand Bend.